Hey, I'm Susanna Lanier, actor and acting coach for over 25 years.
I'm Jess Greenberg, casting director for over 10 years.
We're here to help you navigate this crazy, creative, and sometimes chaotic journey into the film and television world.
We share our insights as to what works.
And invite some pretty spectacular guests to share more ideas to move you on your journey.
So without further ado, let's get into the show.
Today, we have the pleasure of talking to actor and content creator Matthew Giuffrida. You may know him better as Martin, Sal, and Brother. Hello, how are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Very good. Thank you guys for having me. I'm very excited for this.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, we're so excited.
Yeah, this is my first, I think acting specific related podcast. So it's going to be got a lot of fun information to talk about.
Oh, cool. We're excited.
Amazing. So do you want to tell us when you knew you wanted to be an actor?
Yes, I do.
Nope, I don't.
Not even that. Yeah. I would say it was at a very young age. I've always had the chops for making. So I'm going to say making people laugh. So I'm not really talking about comedy stuff, but more so acting funny, right? It was always the class clown. But I always enjoyed acting. And I did start at a young age in theater. Young age is probably, I was in grade 5, I think. I think what sparked it really was in grade 5, there was a storytelling competitions in school, right? And I was very animated, and I won both in grade 5 and grade 6 and represented the school. And that's what I think kind of kicked it off. So I would say grade 5, grade 6 is when I knew that this is something that I would say good at, and something that I wanted to pursue and do. So yeah, I don't know how old you are in grade 5, but was it 11?
11?
10,
Yeah.
11? Yeah. So probably around that age,
Cool.
Yeah. Then I moved over to the Yellow Bug Theater School with Milva Franzini. And there I stayed for a good, I think, 4 years. So I was in it, and I was having fun and utilizing my accents and trying to do comedy stuff, and anyway, a whole bunch of stuff there. But yeah, I would say around that age, and yeah.
Cool. So it was always a passion and something you did as extracurricular.
Correct. I've always had the passion for it. Yeah.
Cool.
And when you did Yellow Bug, did you feel, let's say that you were better than everybody, not the right thing, but did you feel that you did? I'm trying to find a right way to say that. Did you stand out? Did you feel like the teacher was like, this kid's got something, he needs to pursue this? Or no, you were just fooling around?
No. So I wouldn't say I said, I wouldn't say better than anyone. I did enjoy the acting and enjoying because we were put with our age group sort of thing, right? So the first couple of years we were paired with everyone, younger and older, but then when we were actually paired with our own age group, it was a lot, I would say, more fun, because you got to act, I guess not properly, but with people who were at the same level, we'll say. But yes, when I did end up leaving, one of the other teachers, Susan, actually, she sent me a letter personally and was like, whatever you do, you need to pursue this. I know you're stopping now, and you need to pursue this. So I've never actually said that to anyone, and the only people who knew that were myself and my parents, I think, and Susan, obviously. But yeah, so I've always had that in the back of my mind, because there was a period where I stopped. So when I stopped Yellow Bug to when I came back to now, we'll say, there was a pretty big period there, but I've always had that at the back of my head. It stuck with me,
Yeah. So you did this when you were, I guess, starting high school. So what started, or what made you stop? And what was your education? Where did you go and why?
So essentially I stopped in secondary 2, because I was told secondary 3 was a very big year for high school students, that when you're applying for CEGEP, secondary 3 is the year that the grades that they look at. And I was sitting there and acting, is it something that I want to pursue really, to the point where all my focus is going to be on in it, or should I just focus on my grades? I had a little bit of interest in actually, when I watched Law Abiding Citizen, the movie with Gerard Butler, it sparked an interest in becoming a lawyer. and then my brain was set on that for a period. And I mean, so that kind of like, it was the grades and like people around saying like, like, yeah, like lawyer, obviously, if you're going to say like you can become an actor or a lawyer, unfortunately, it's gonna be like, well, I mean, go with the law. It's a clear sight. You take your courses, you graduate, you get a good job and all that kind of stuff, right? When I went to CEGEP studying in like a law program, I met someone there who really wanted to become a lawyer, and you saw it. And I compared myself to, I know you're not supposed to compare, but like, meaning I saw his passion and I looked at my passion, and I'm like, yeah, there's two completely different levels. So I'm like, this is not for me. Then when I started working at the bank later on, I'm like, I want to go into investments and banking and all that kind of stuff. Then I found someone who would literally like study companies on the weekend and go through like charts and everything. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. So there's a different level of, so, and then I kind of fell back into the acting world, and that's like later on. So that whole period is between probably secondary 3 and then when I was 20, I want to say 20.
CEGEP.
In second year university.
Okay.
When I decided to stop everything and then just pursue acting.
So then you were at the bank. Could you tell us about like what made you then say like, okay, I need to focus my energy now back on acting? Like, what was that switch?
Again, having that note, always having a background in, I guess, acting and a passion for it. It's always been in the back of my head. At the bank, I hated sales, but my customer service was always like 100%. And I've had people literally like, again, it goes back to the comedy because that's my like genre. I prefer that, right? But I've had people literally at the bank, tell me like I've never laughed so much at a bank teller experience, sort of thing, right? So like it was just like things like that. And what ended up happening was there was one girl who came to the bank to deposit a check. And it says something about productions on it, and I'm like, oh, you do like productions and everything? And she's like, well, yeah. She's like, I was on the movie with Red 2, I think, was filmed here, or
Bruce
the first
Willis.
one?
Yeah.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I was on that film there, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I have a background in acting, all that kind of stuff. I said, and like, like she showed me pictures. She's like, yeah, I was doing background work, and when I looked at the check, and I'm like, wait a minute, like this is back. She's like, yeah, it was 1 day of background work, and I'm like, yeah, something's not making sense here right now. I'm like, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, this is, and that kind of triggered it. And then eventually, not being happy at the bank, close to being, I guess, fired because the sales were not there. I fell upon Gary Vaynerchuk's, I don't know if you know him, social media, like business guru, all kind of stuff. Fell upon a video of his, I think it was Monday morning. He's like, you can always like just drop, like if you're not happy with what you're doing, you can drop it. Like he says, if you're at a bullshit job, you can always get another bullshit job later on. Like, but now's the time where we have social media. And I'm like, okay, this is something that's different, that a different approach that I can have to the acting world, like, social media and everything. And literally, I think it was like a couple of days after, gave my 2 weeks at the bank, left school, and I was like, we're going to go into this. Told people that I was working on a project. That's it. No, because then you get all the feedback afterwards, right? So I didn't want to have to deal with any of that. And that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I think that's just really important, that if you're in if you're in a job that you don't like, there's lots and lots and lots and lots of jobs that you won't like. So you might as well try something that you do like, and see if that works out. Because if it doesn't, you can tons of jobs that you won't like, right?
100%.
So I think that's I think that's great advice. I think I think that's great advice.
Exactly. Like even now, sometimes I think like, oh, if this doesn't work out, well, you can go back to the bank, or you could try something else that will just, like you could go back to that. But the point is not to go back to that. I don't ever want to go back to that. We're going to figure this out. But it's just like, yeah, like it's not like, oh my God, I won't have a job, or, oh my God, there's lots of that out there. I don't want it, but I mean, there's lots of it there in case, you could say. It's almost like there is a cushion. I'm
just trying to say, yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's that cushion, safety net. And so don't not do it. Like just do what you want to do. I mean, 100%. All the time, do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally agree with that. So how did you get started? Like, how did you built a network of people, right? How do you build a good network of people? How would you suggest to do that?
I would say it's funny, I didn't tell anyone about what my plans were. But I think sometimes by telling people what your plans are, throwing it out there, it kind of gets it going, right? And I mean, essentially in this case, how I met you, how I came to your class was literally just eventually it got out there, and it was through a customer at the bank's daughter. I'm sure you guys know her, Sabrina Campili.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, no problem. Got in touch with her. She gave me a list of agents to call that accept green actors. She gave me your number. I came to your class, spoke to you, met other actors, and then like that's how it kind of like, it's literally like I had to go out there. Like by me not letting anyone know, I kind of stayed in that bubble and I kind of didn't know where I was going with this. But by talking to people and by letting people know what I was doing and where I wanted to go, you know, they say like what is this? The devil has ears, and like you're not supposed to, you know, people will wish you, you know, but at the same time, like I think that the people who want to help you, I'm a optimistic person. I like to think that there's more good than bad. So the good people out there will help you, and it's just kind of like, I guess, siphoning through the people that you meet and stuff, right? So it's like, you know, if this person wants to help, you stick with them, you help them, you talk and all that kind of stuff. And I made great friends in your class, and again, from there, more people, and you know, my agent as well, and all that kind of stuff. It's, you just got to find people that match with you, I guess you can say, your values and all that kind of stuff.
So it's almost like you didn't really tell like your close friends or family. You kept that a secret from them, but you really networked within the acting community in that way.
People who would understand where I'm coming from.
Totally.
You know, who are following the same passion. And I mean, it's like, again, like I'm not a believer in like, if this guy's an actor and I'm an actor, it's like, oh, well, I don't want him to get the audition. Like I want to, you know, if I don't get it, then you get it, or you get it, and then I'll get the next one. It's like, it's just there is a lot out there for everyone. Now, again, the roles are, again, there's sometimes you're 100 people auditioning for one role, so it's hard to get it. But I feel that we're in a time right now, and this will cycle through what we'll talk about eventually, but you could create your own opportunities in today's time. You really can.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is important. Like there's opportunities for everyone out there. And if someone's not going to give it to you, you can make that opportunity.
Yeah. So I guess my question would be, so you started with Susanna's class and you started talking to people, building your network. Did you jump right into like your content creation, or was there a bit of like waiting for auditions and like this fatigue of that, and then you went to it, or it all sort of happened at the same time?
It pretty much all sort of happened at the same time. My philosophy going into it was, instead of going about it the traditional way, in the sense of like, you know, take my acting classes, get an agent, wait for my auditions and audition and hopefully get something. Instead of doing that, I said, okay, I'm just going to put myself on social media, acting, doing the things that I want to act, and the characters and all that kind of stuff. And hopefully through there, people will see me. And that's another way of booking roles and getting experience and all that kind of stuff. And it's another way as well, as, you know, they say, like everything, you need to practice your craft, right? So one way is obviously going to classes, and the other way for me is doing my social media, right? Like acting and all that kind of stuff, like trying to do different characters, different types of, you know, different genres and all that kind of stuff. So that to me is a way that I get to practice every day, effortlessly, I guess you can say.
Yeah. So. I want to take it a little on a different direction, because I haven't seen you since before the pandemic. And I wanted to know, how did the pandemic influence you as a content creator? Because I'm guessing it was good. Like, not, pandemic was not good, but for certain careers, it could have benefited, and content creation, I would have guessed, would have been one of them. Did it change your content creation?
100%. Views
100%.
doubled instantaneously. Yeah.
Wow.
As soon as it was in March, I think, where they officially, March 6th was officially said, that whole March 6th to like June, July was ridiculous, to the point where I said, I just need to make more content. I need to, instead of posting one a day, I just need to be posting 2-3 times a day, because the views were there. Like, and you saw them because everyone was at home on their phone to check, again, on social media or whatever it is. But if you're everywhere, eventually they'll stumble upon you, right? So that was a huge moment, I would say. So it did. And for me, unfortunately, it sucked. It was really bad for a lot of people and myself as well, right? But in terms of the content creation, and I think for all content creators, it was better. It was a good, not better. It was a good moment, I guess, a boost, we'll say. And everyone had to kind of like you saw a lot of people were either creating podcasts, were taking their comedy online, creating shows, starting to do content creation or whatever it may be. So it was a way of like, I think it was a good like what's the like a wake up call kind of for some people to be like, well, there's other ways of going about it,
everyone had to pivot.
Exactly. Yeah. The self tapes, that's what I mean, pretty much just kicked off the self tapes, which I don't know if I like so much. But I like the convenience of being able to do it at home.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the fact that like I have to go in, do the audition. This is all I got, 3 moments, 2 moments, or whatever it may be, and that's it. But then again, I save on gas because I'm not downtown. So that's also
right. Well, I think the self-tape has been a double-edged sword. I mean, you get to be creative, you get to do what you want to do and stuff like that, and it's your own timeline, but they're seeing more people. You don't get to go into the room and razzle dazzle
and talking. Book the room.
Yeah, you don't get to book the room. You got to book your little screen, which you can still do, but exactly. So it's kind of, but it is definitely more convenient.
Definitely more convenient. The one thing I'll touch quickly on that I do not like is the fact that not that there's no direction, but there's no direction. I loved going in and let's see what you got. Great, playing out the scene, and then like okay, like something that I did book at one point. I didn't know the director was in the room, and he's like, okay, you did this. So I was arguing with my wife, and then he's like, okay, your wife wears the pants in the relationship. Like that's it. And then it was just like on the spot moment where like everything just shifted of like how to deliver the lines, and it was so fun to just think, and then like one where you're more concerned, you're not angry sort of thing, and like I like that. Versus now it's like I have to figure out on my own, like okay, like do I do an angry one, do I do one this? But like your wife wears the pants in the relationship is almost like it's a whole other like you've had a stomachache all morning. That will change your audition completely, right? Because you got to internalize that feeling, and I think it's cool. But for me to think of that at home is like, do I do that? Do I not? Is that the direction?
Back to the content creation. Now, your characters and your situations are very niche to Montreal. So I'm guessing the majority of your viewers are from Montreal. Do you have viewers outside of Montreal? How far does it go? And do you have any surprises?
Yeah. So essentially Canada, Montreal are like the top 2, I guess, places in terms of like viewership. But then it gets weird. I've seen like Australia up there. South Africa at one point was up there as well. Again, very small percentages, but up there. I've seen the UK. The US is generally second, I will say that. So but again, I am trying to now branch out in terms of like make the characters either talk about more relatable topics that kind of are for everyone and not just Montreal. The Montreal stuff,
like global topics kind of thing.
Global topics, exactly. Global topics. Or just like, again, like stuff like in the media that's going on. Like COVID at one point, it wasn't last year, it was the year before, January, I decided to touch on COVID stuff. I didn't want to, because of the fact that like everywhere you turned was COVID. I wanted people to come to my page, my stuff, to get away from that. But then I did one, and it's people just ate like that month of COVID content of like
the passports,
of like 5, 6, no, I think between 5 and 10 pieces of content were like in like that month was ridiculous in terms of like followers and viewership and all that kind of stuff. Like you had some people, that was my first encounter with like, I guess, hate message, because people did not like where I was going with it.
Right.
But like for every 10 people who liked it, there was one person who didn't. So I'll take those odds.
Right. But my mom, who's in her 70s, has a friend in Ottawa. So that's why I'm asking, when I thought it was so funny. They're in their 70s, and she forwarded the message. Well, he forwarded the message to my mom, who forwarded it to me. Do you know this guy? He's so funny.
That's
so you've
hilarious.
got And I was like, yes, I know him. He took my class. What are you watching that stuff for? You know, and it not Italian, not the word Ottawa. And yes, so you were like hitting, you know, you were a hit with the 70s crowd in Ottawa, just to let you know.
That's awesome.
And I thought that was so funny what reach Matthew has. So yeah, I thought that was very, very funny.
That is funny.
Did you ever do stand-up?
Never.
Would you?
I would.
Yeah.
Not right now. It's very different than like what I do. Some skits that I do is like Martin, for example, like his rants are just 3 minutes of yelling, high intensity straight. So it could work on stage. It might be a little longer than 3 minutes, but I mean, but it could work. So there is a possibility there. And I know if I write it out, like I could do it. You know, and like I said, I have a theater background. I keep saying background. I mean, it was when I was a kid, but like I have that, and I know that energy of feeding off of an audience and stuff. But I would love to do something more along the lines of what Sugar Sammy does in terms of like interacting with the audience. That's amazing for one. Yeah. But I feel that generally, like in a when I'm talking to people, I'll pick up on things or I'll make a joke, but then like I'll relate it to something else like later on in the conversation. So it's kind of like what he does, and like I think it's amazing. But like I would maybe want to venture off into something like that or try it at least.
Like crowd work.
Yeah. With the accents or with characters or just myself, you know.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
So is that something on the future plans for you to do some stand-up stuff?
That I'm trying to really stay away from like comedian and more like actor. It's hard because like a lot of my stuff is it's just he's just funny. All this stuff is funny. But it's like, but you could be an actor and like just stick with like, you know, funny stuff.
Comedy.
But in comedy, exactly. I just want to eventually, like, one of the things in the works though is to go into like doing like short films and shorter clips, kind of like I do, but more like dramatic or serious or horror or whatever it may be. Like that's something that's, I would say, closer than stand-up comedy. Okay. To kind of show that like we're taking the acting route. It's not the comedy route. We're going the acting route. Yeah. And I can make you laugh, like I can make you cry. Let's go do that.
Now, from your social media content, you are your characters. You've booked a couple of commercials from that, right?
Yes. So there was one commercial.
Okay.
Well, hold on a second. So I do a bunch of social media commercials that I create and I post on my stuff. But there was one commercial that the company I did it for was like, we're going to put this on TV.
Wow.
So that was the moment where it came full circle for me, because when I started this, it was like, I'm not going to wait for the opportunity to come and get the audition and book a role on a commercial. I'm going to create my own commercials, play who I want to play. And that's the way we're going to go about it. Right. And then they came along and said, you know, we'll put it on TV. And that's where I was like, wow, that's the one I wrote. I wrote, not film, but my camera guy filmed it, but again, edited, acted, produced, whatever you want to call it. All that was me. And then they put it on the air. And to see, like, I still haven't booked a commercial on TV, a speaking role on a commercial on TV.
Like through the normal channels, like
through the normal channels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever thought of creating, because your characters are so funny and your skits are so funny, and I just thought I could see this being a show. Have you ever thought of, have producers actually ever approached you about creating a show out of this, like a sitcom?
Kind of. Like I've had some like people like, you know, like, oh, this should be a movie or how to go about all kind of stuff. But there is a producer that I'm kind of still in talks with about a full feature film.
With the characters.
Yeah.
Who are your comedy influences?
You know, grew up watching Seinfeld. Seinfeld's great. I mean, like everything about that show. I even like thought like, I'm like, this is like even taking my comedy in that kind of direction of like doing that sort of thing where like they pick a subject. It's like 30 minutes and just like doing that sort of thing. Like with my characters and having like each their own, again, like obviously personality and everything. But I mean, like there's a whole bunch of like George Carlin is also great because he's like the Martin of kind of like, that's the way I kind of see that. I love Dave Chappelle as well. He's super,
Amazing.
he's great. And not newer, but newer. Sebastian Maniscalco, very dynamic on stage, using
Oh
his
my God,
hands,
yeah.
and like very, very dynamic. I'd say those are like the main ones.
So what's on the plans now? You sort of started talking about it. Do you have anything specific that you can share with us?
I mean, it's pretty much like that's pretty much the like in terms of the acting, it's more so like the shorts that I really want to like. I'd like to do like one a month. So there's gonna be time like literally put into the writing because my scripts like for now like they're short, right? So I'm looking at around the 5 minute mark. It obviously depends on what the topic is, but looking at I really want to focus on that because I think that like there's a market, number one, and there's another, and again it's just being able to also bring in Montreal actors,
Yeah, that'd
be
be
able to be a
great.
part of this,
Yeah.
right? It's not like I'm not looking, and I'm totally fine as well with just being solely behind the camera as well, and letting like two other actors or three or four or whatever it may be, and just the directing like a vision that I have. Because that's always my thing. It's like I always have like a vision before I write the script or whatever, and like how it's supposed to look like. So even when I'm filming, I'm always kind of like I'll run behind the camera and look, okay, like yeah, this is the way it's supposed to look. Yeah, no, it's the eye line is off or whatever the hell. It's like I have a way it's supposed to look, I guess you can say. Yeah, I think that's pretty much like the main focus right now, apart from my also like my content creation, broadening my content topics, and I would say the shorts.
And so because you do a lot of content creation and you have a big following, and is it commercials? Is that how you sort of sustain yourself through doing the commercials? And great. And when did that start? Like how long were you doing social media before you were able to financially sustain yourself with it?
When my parents said, look, the videos are funny, but no, but honestly, like so it did kind of go down that way, but it was but
they said go get some money at it.
Yeah, it was like it's great, but like you could technically have a part-time job while you do this or whatever it is, all that kind of stuff. I was doing it for it was a year. I had started in March 3rd was the first video I posted, 2018.
Right.
In December, I had amassed a little bit of a following, and videos were doing well, and everything was cool. And then my parents were like, "This is great, but like, is there a way you can kind of make money from this or whatever?" I didn't want to, because when you have a social media following, you get all the people that are like, "Hey, this is my product. Can you just post a picture with a promo code?" And I didn't want that. Everyone was doing it and is still doing it, and I'm like, it's like it's just blatant selling, to the people, right? I didn't want that, but I'm like, is there a way that I can promote this, but in a funny way that people,
right?
And that's where I was kind of like, and I was very skeptical about it as well. But then I'm like, you know what? There's no other way right now to do it to make money from this. So I'm like, yeah, let me just make comedic commercials. So I'm like, you know what? Super Bowl commercials. People watch the Super Bowl just for commercials.
Yeah.
And the commercials are either making you laugh or they're making you cry. There's no other real. Like there's not just like a commercial. It's literally like, or it's something that has like a lot of explosions and it's like, oh my God, like a movie sort of thing.
Well, that's the thing. You have to be, that's for marketing, affect your audience. So it's going to be like, laughing or crying. You have to affect them.
Bingo, 100%. So I'm like, okay, so let's make them laugh. And that's kind of what I started doing was, creating like the commercials for the companies. And it ended up working out, and it works out really well. Last year was a bit too much. Like my focus was really on that. This year I'm kind of slowing down on that stuff to do more of like the acting and my content creation. Because that I think will always technically be there. There'll always be a venue for these types of commercials and stuff.
Yeah.
But that was very creative of you, Matthew, though, to decide, I don't want to just stand there with a picture of me in this like, weird water, kind of water, and be like, yum, yum, So you're like, let me do something kind of that feels right to me. Let me, because you do. Look, you work really hard, I'm sure. And that's another question I want to ask. Like, how hard do you work on this? Like, how many hours a week does it take to do what you do?
That's a good question. I never really like, that's my thing. I never really like count my hours or anything in that sort. But I mean, yeah, it doesn't like it's not because I'm kind of like in the flow of it now, it's not like crazy, but it would be, I would say roughly like I'd say between 50, oops, no, 50 and 60 hours.
Right. So with 50 and 60 hours a week, I'm guessing it would be pretty hard to have to take on a second, waitering job so you could support your
No.
content creation
Yeah.
for free.
Yeah, no.
Impossible and
No.
unreasonable.
But then again, like in the 50, 60 hours is also the commercials. So if I
Well, no,
wasn't
I
doing the
know. Yeah,
commercials,
Yeah.
then technically I could get the part-time job, but I have so much more fun doing the commercials. Like why, like it doesn't,
course.
and
And it pays more than
yes,
Yeah.
so
100%. And the
yeah.
opportunity of being on TV, so that's also
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, but again, my idea with the commercials was also that like even if you like, I don't want people to watch it and feel like, oh, I got sold on something. Like at
Right.
least it's a funny skit that at the bare minimum you get a laugh from it. Even if you don't
Yeah.
care about the lipstick or the funny water, at least the video was funny and you might rewatch it because oh, it was funny.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Right.
it's still you're still the viewer still getting something from it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's another thing. This might be controversial, but do you try to support products that you actually like?
Um yes,
Okay, good.
I do. However, I
Yeah.
never because I'm not sitting there taking a picture with like, hey, buy this. And I also like there's been some that I have turned down,
Okay.
but like I've done like I'll like if you come to me with like that plant and like I make these plants, I want to sell it, like I'll do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not that like, like I'll like I wouldn't say I would do pretty much anything, but like if the product like makes sense and it's like, yeah, we can do this. For me, it's just it's not a challenge, but it's cool because like I get to think of the comedy and put the characters in another situation, in another
Yeah.
environment. So that's what I really like. I've never said like this is the best, this is the only, like I'll say things like, oh, it's great, all that kind of stuff. Like I'll never lie and you'll never hear me say like this is the best or this is all that kind of stuff because like again, I have done like for example multiple real estate agents in
Right.
Montreal.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to just do one. Like I always thought of myself as like I'm the production company. Like if you're gonna go to if you're gonna go to a production company and they're gonna make a video about a water, well, you can't tell the production company don't make any other videos about water.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, well, I'm gonna make if they're gonna come and they're gonna pay and they want me to make a commercial. Obviously, you don't do it back to back.
Right.
Because that's the difference, I guess, in this case. But yeah, it's never like, like there's like I guess few products that like I work with that are like I guess at the top where I'm like I really do like them, I use them, and it's like yes, like these are like,
Yeah.
like I stand by them.
Well, I feel like you obviously have influence, but you are not an influencer.
Correct.
Like,
yeah.
So it's not like we see your day-to-day life, like in the life of Matthew, and like, this is
Yeah.
what I do and this is what I'm promoting. It's like you've built an amazing audience, you've built trust and a community. And like you said, you're the producer, you're producing ads at the end of the day. Yeah.
It's for them. And it's like, I just think of it as like, you're like, it's going on my social media as like an ad for people to see. So you're just getting the audience. You're getting the views, right? It's like you don't want to put it on a billboard or whatever the hell. You're putting it there and you're getting the views. It's not like I can't expect a minimum amount of sales or whatever it is. Again, and it's honestly it's so like some things like are so weird. Like you can sell like I've done commercials in the sense where like the interest is not there. Like people went to the website and like just didn't like it. And then I've had other ones where like he was a Rolex broker.
Right.
And he, and I love when they do this. He told me directly, like 2 months later, is like, I had a guy buy 2 Rolexes directly from your video because he saw me in your video.
Amazing.
So I'm like, to me, I'm like, that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't know if that's gonna happen. Like sell Rolex is difficult. Like people, I don't know who's gonna go buy a Rolex, right? But it ended up
that
happening.
guy.
Like, it could happen. it just it went out there for the views. So like I don't know, it might like again, the video might do really well, like it might not.
Yeah.
The more I have control over the script, I say generally it does a little bit better. Because if you keep adding their information in, right, that's the whole business side of it there. But I mean, yeah.
Because you know your audience. Sorry, but you know your.
Do you seek out these clients or do they seek you out?
I have been very grateful.
Yeah.
I have never had to do any advertising or seek out anyone on my own end.
Oh, you're living the dream.
Very grateful.
You're living the dream.
And this is like full circle because it's like you said at the beginning with the bank, like you don't like sales. And here they are just coming to you.
I never thought of that. I never pieced those 2 points together. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, I find like even with your posts, like you are spiritual and like very optimistic and have that mindset. So and so I love those posts too, you know, because I see how hard you're working and anyway, so all of it. But then, that whole sales thing came full circle for me.
Wow. I missed that, but that's exactly, I hated the sales. I hated it. I hated, like, for me, it was like they'd come in and I'd have a great conversation, a genuine conversation, make some jokes, we're laughing, it's great, to deposit a check. And then it's like, oh, by the way, you're pre-approved for a credit card. It killed me inside. That person leaving the bank being like, bastard is the only time I'll swear it. The bastard made me laugh and he was good to try to sell me that credit card. And that was not the goal at all.
Yeah.
But I hated, again, it's almost like maybe like, who cares what they think? But if I'm being genuine, like I'm not trying to hide anything, but it comes off that way because you're a bank. And because I have the bank's image portrayed, I guess, on me.
So here you are.
Their loss.
Here I am now.
They're exactly their loss. So I want to know, soon we are going to wrap it up, but I wanted to know, so the 5 or 10 year plan, like with the career you're creating now, what do you see for yourself? What do you hope for yourself?
5 to 10 years from now, I would
or
like
20, whatever you want.
20.
The big dream.
The big dream is I'd like to have a successfully running production company in the film industry, I guess I want to say, without any of these like I don't want to fall into like the red tape of stuff and like the whole like more and more, unfortunately, like you start hearing about like actors and like, oh, we have to sign this contract and like you can get this, and like it's a very like kind of like, you got to go into the like that world or that click and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, you know what, views are there. I have friends who have millions of views on videos and stuff, and I'm like, even for example, a short that will get 10,000 views, if at $1 a view, for example, it's still $10,000 on a short that maybe took you a weekend,
right?
Sort of thing, right? So if you're looking at it in a sense of that, like I'm not like thinking like that, but I'm saying that like it makes sense and it's feasible and there's so much. It's scalable, and when I hear scalable, I hear more opportunities for everyone, and not just like the same people for the same roles or same people in the same projects, sort of thing. There's opportunities for everyone. Like, there's going to be like auditions, and like I already have some ideas in mind where like this is the person who's going to play the role. Like I'm not going to audition. This is the person, and that's it. But like I in 5 to 10 years, like I see this being like these movies, these films, these shorts were produced by this company, and whatever it may be, sort of thing. I think that's kind of where I'm headed. To have a name in the acting world, but also like be more like well-rounded in the sense of like, in like being in the production and directing of everything.
Right. So that's the big plan, to have basically a production company.
Yeah. But also be acting and just
producing, directing, and let the red tape stuff, if that has to happen, hire somebody else to handle that, and you'll keep doing what you love, right? You like the creative spirit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely.
That's a good goal.
So
and it looks like you're on your way.
Yeah.
Slowly.
You're right on track. Amazing though. We're so happy to have you, and I wish you tons of luck. We can't wait to see your shorts.
Yeah.
Your short films and all your skits, and that movie that's coming out this summer, or you're going to work on this summer, that you won't talk about because it's hush hush, but we're happy to see it all. It's very exciting.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you.
This is great. I think what you guys are doing here is awesome. And I can't wait to
Thank
see
you.
future episodes and,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
fun.
it's gonna be good.
Cool.
Thank you.
For today's takeaways, 1, find people that match your energy and values. 2, there's more than one way to be an actor, so try different ways. 3, practice your craft. And 4, don't wait around for success to come to you. Look for opportunities. They're everywhere. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you. Bye.